I'm Clarence.
And I'm DJ Nuna.
And you're listening to Up in the Air,
a podcast exploring the creative, social, and political world around us.
Featuring conversations with our lovely friends and special guests each episode.
Stay up in the air and come float with us.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Up in the Air. Today we're joined by the wonderful Hoa Hong. She's an artist and designer based out of Seattle, whose work has been featured by the likes of Billboard magazine and XXL magazine. She has completed murals in cities across the country, and we're just so honored to be joined by her today to hear about her creative process and just how she's doing in this pandemic. But Hoa, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I have been doing full-time school and work, so having this podcast is something that I haven't done in 2 years, almost 2 years.
Wow, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, for sure. Because Clarence and I, we transitioned from a radio show for UW onto a podcast during the pandemic, and yes, it's because we wanted to, explore different topics and have different conversations, but it really has been a great way to connect with people that we normally wouldn't be able to connect with. So that's the pros and cons of remote connection and Zoom calls. So yeah, thanks for coming on. We're excited. And yeah, we've been big fans of your work for a long time and have definitely witnessed you in different publications, or I've seen you in I think Relish magazine and Human Condition. So it's great to meet you in person.
Aww. It has came full circle for you.
No, yeah, for sure. But
it's nice that you guys keep it up though, because I feel like pandemic kind of put a lot of things on hold, and I love listening to the podcast when I paint. So this might gonna be my next favorite.
Yes, thank you. we try to put out good stuff, but how are you doing? I know it's been almost I guess it has been a year since this all kind of the country shut down, but how are you doing on this weird anniversary?
It's official. I've been doing really well. I feel like better than most, just because I feel like creativity has saved me in a lot of ways, not just during the pandemic but before it. And it seems like a lot more people are collecting original art because we're home so much. I've sold a lot more originals this year or this past year than previous years. But it's just an observation on okay, how do I market myself next? Because it seems like this generation and Gen Z are all about collecting original arts and having an artsy room and space. Probably because we're inside so much. So I've been kind of really blessed with that, with the financial part of it, because selling original is pretty hard unless I have shows and exposures and galleries. So that has been an added bonus that kind of came my way in my favor in a way. So.
I'm assuming that kind of came up through your social media, right? Like you putting yourself out there. I'm wondering what has the balance been with social media? Because I know a lot of people this past year have been struggling with spending too much time on it or just going away from it completely. What has your relationship with it been?
I think social media is a very funny thing, but I think it's a huge advantage to us now that we have that as a tool. So I'm trying to look at it as a positive way where I can observe user experience and how they interact with my content and seeing all this data. Back in the day when you paint something, you put it out, you don't really get a survey or a quick rundown of how many people seen your art or interacted with it or saved it, for example, or shared it. But I do have my weird days with social media where I just want to completely delete myself off the earth. So I do have days where I completely don't go on at all. I'm really, really bad at replying to messages. I think I just try to be in my own lane and keep my own vibes going. It's not really something that I value the most, but I do care about it sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely something that we talked about a lot in our other episodes, but it is just a love-hate relationship, in some ways it's getting the work out there, but in other ways, it's like our mental health is just declining. It's a
Yeah.
weird thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also one of those things where I'm trying to decide like how much of myself or my personal life do I want to like share on social media, because
Mm-hmm.
it's really weird like if you have a stranger like across the country knowing where you're at, like if you're visiting like Japan or something and they'd be asking about it,
Mm-hmm.
which is cool as a human connection, but sometimes like I saw this tweet today where this guy was like, oh, I really want to be a super famous artist, but at the same time I just don't want to be seen or exist, or people don't know that I exist. So kind of like Banksy. That is like some kind of artist thing that I like admire and want to be, but
Mm-hmm.
here I am throwing my face out there already, so people know who I am already.
No,
Too
for
late.
sure. I think that it's really difficult to be vulnerable on the internet because, yeah, it's really easy access for people to perceive you and look into your life. And I read this really great article about that I resonated with about being a woman of color on the internet is a different experience in itself because sometimes there's more pressure or there's more like a standard or expectation to succeed or excel in just the design and art industry for sure. But yeah, I personally love seeing like your fits and like your personal pictures on your Instagram.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, I think I need to show this side of me to people so that it feels genuine and
Right.
uh, it stayed true to who I am. So
Mm-hmm.
I love
Yeah.
fashion.
For sure.
Yeah. But we did some digging on, your background and your
Oh
experience.
gosh,
Your we went
I
really deep.
did.
here
But we
goes the
saw
dirt
that.
that's coming through.
But we saw that you went to UW and then you also went to a
Uh-huh.
fine arts school, and we're just wondering like what has your journey been, becoming a creative and going into this full like being an artist and making that your career?
Mm-hmm.
I think this might be a surprise to a lot of people, but I didn't really started painting religiously or like as a practice or as a study until my junior year of college. So technically, I've been painting for about, I would say, like 6 years, counting that a little more or a little less. Um, but I came into UW, wanted to be a pharmacy, into pharmacy school. So I was pre-farm. So I didn't think about art as a career until I took painting as an elective or drawing. I think it was drawing 190. It was the first intro class, and it was an elective that I had to take supposedly. But I've always loved art since I was little. But that's every artist story. So um, I've been always like just love art, but I kind of fell in love with science at the same time. So I think my left brain and my right brain were fighting each other the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then I decided to take that elective, and it changed, it shifted my whole perspective. I'm like, okay, what do I want to do with life? And does this make me happy? And I was comparing that experience with the experience I've had with like, meds classes or like biology classes. And I mean, biology and chemistry are tough at UW. I feel like everyone went through it, probably knew how tough it was, and organic chem. So I went through all that for the first 2 years. So I pretty
Wow.
much was like an official pre-med student, but I didn't go forward with it. Took my first drawing class, and I think like mid quarter, my professor pulled me out in middle class, and I thought I was in trouble. But she was like, "What major are you in? Like, how come I've never seen you?" And I'm like, I'm a biology major, or at the time I think it was biochemistry. That was my major.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was like, "Whoa, I'm so surprised." And then she literally wrote the letter to like the counselor and like recommended me and have me to go talk to her to see if I would want to be in the program. And I think UW still now doesn't have painting or fine arts as like a minor. So I had to go in like full force being a major in fine
Mhm.
arts. So it was a huge shift because I was taking like lab or like chemistry classes in lab for 3 hours, and I'd be painting for another 6 hours. So it was super brutal for like the last 2 years of my time at UW.
Yeah.
But it made me truly happy because, I'm not an early morning person, but I would totally wake up at 5 a.m. to catch that light that I want to capture in my painting. So
Mhm.
it showed me like how much I loved it. And I don't know, it's just a moment of realization that like maybe I was on the wrong path this whole time and it just hit me like a truck. So
Mhm.
I'm just kind of like, oh, here I am, pursuing full on like painting and drawing. And
Mhm.
my parents was super shocked and they're like, "What's going on? Like, what hit you?" And I'm like, "That light hit me, I swear. I don't know."
Mm.
But it
Yeah.
was just a funny experience that I feel like it's so strange to tell people like, changed my mind last minute. I don't want to convince any other kids to do it, but like I think it's totally worth it. Um,
Mhm.
and I've been painting since then until now. So, it's been a journey.
Wow. No, that's amazing to hear because I think I'm personally surprised that yeah, you've been painting for like officially 6 years, a little over 6 years, and that's wild because and really inspiring because I think Clarence and I we're in our undergrad right now and we're still trying to figure out like what's meant for us or what do we love to do, what does our career look like. So it's really encouraging to hear that like big changes can happen in your young adult life. So that's amazing to hear. And yeah, Clarence and I definitely were trying to go into STEM at one point. Like I took Bio 180 my freshman year, freshman quarter, and I dropped out of it. Like I was about to fail that class.
I,
And
I think I took the business route, and I was like, my brother went through foster. Like my dad is a businessman. I'm like, I'm a businessman too. Like I'm gonna do this. But yeah, I was just so unhappy, and I mean, I don't know about you. Like, were you unhappy with biochem, or was it just more like you loved art even more?
It's one of those things where, I feel like growing up throughout high school, people made it seem like STEM majors, like either you're in math or chemistry or biology, makes you smart, or make you look smart at least.
Mhm.
And if you do well in them, you're like smart, smart. So it almost like the measurements of like intelligence. So I didn't think about like, oh, creative is another way to express that intelligent and depth within you. So I felt like my mind was so malleable when I was younger, and seeing that I was like, okay, I gotta prove that I'm smart. Like I want to go for this major that like, oh, everyone find difficult in, and
Mhm.
I kind of just went for it, and I enjoyed it because just curiosity, like I want to learn all these things, but in comparison to art, it was nothing like it. Like it doesn't feel natural. It felt like I always had to try hard. I mean, I try hard in painting too, but in a different way that I feel like I can see it in like fruition in front of me. But in terms of biology and chemistry, it's knowledge based, but like I feel like it was interesting, but I wouldn't say it's something that I truly enjoy,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely resonate with kind of the standards of success and how it is heavily rooted in like STEM, especially now with the tech industry, like coding or like even with Clarence and I in design, like there's a huge difference between going kind of the more art or visual route versus like UX and UI route, right? So, because there's differences in like how those jobs are getting paid, and that's kind of equivalent to like success. So, I definitely resonate with that. But I think the pandemic has really pushed people to question, like, why do I think this is what success looks like? Or why do well, it's capitalism. It's all like rooted in capitalism. So I think a lot of people are, yeah, admiring different backgrounds, different jobs a lot more. And it's really allowed me to, yeah, question, like, what do I want to do with my career? But yeah.
Oh,
Scary questions.
totally. No, no, totally. I I know exactly what you're talking about because I am also in design school at the moment. So I do know what it feels to be kind of like, okay, what kind of designer, like, am I? Do I want to be more like, technical based, like coding, UI, UX, or
Mhm.
the front end of how it look and the visual look and
Right.
feel of
Mhm.
everything. So
Yeah.
Yeah, what's driving you to kind of pursue a more graphic design um, education as well at this point?
I feel like I've always been very multidisciplinary.
Mm.
So a lot of time where when I'm curious about something, I either be 0 or 100, which is kind of bad. Once you're in, you're in. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't realize how real it was until it hit me, but which is bad. So don't follow what I'm saying. But like I would say I've always really liked, like I used to design like cards or just handmade cards for
Mhm.
friends and just little things that kind of led me to like, okay, graphic design might be a cool thing to explore. And I also had a few people who connected with me through bigger companies and asking me if I would do this certain thing or like collaboration on certain thing. And I'm like, okay,
Mm.
that would require graphic design mine. Like I have a fine arts and it's a totally different beast itself. But
Mm-hmm.
in terms of application, I think I need to go into like learning like all these Adobe like devices or programs and kind of really apply what I know on visual arts into this, realistic concept that would connect me with like either fashion or like graphic design, packaging, and branding and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that led me to reading more about it and then connecting with more friends who are already in the field. And then learning more about it made me way more curious about it. So I got myself into graphic design recently, and I've been very happy with it. Even though it's paused like my painting a lot, and I kind of put a lot of things on back burner, but I've been pretty happy, and I think I'm on the right path. I
Mm-hmm.
think.
Yeah, for sure. That's amazing to hear that you're, yeah, like you were able to focus on like a fine arts background and now really enhance that with graphic design because there's definitely parallels between the two. And yeah, definitely knowing like the Adobe devices like that really is a great like skill and enables you to make so much more. Yeah, I'm curious if you've been able to see lots of parallels between fine arts and graphic design in your experience, or if it feels like very separate or very different. But yeah, what's your experience with that?
I would say art and design do have overlaps,
Mm-hmm.
but most of the time, I think I want to leave my fine arts like on the side and not. At the beginning, I was struggling trying to merge them or thinking that I could merge them in terms of skills and like understanding. And in some ways, I did, but I've had this realization recently that a lot of times art is something that you express and something that inspire you or that keep you going, and you express your inner self. But in design, of course you're going to see like little seeps of your personality in it, but at the end of the day you're solving a problem for someone else. It's not your own problem. So
Mm-hmm.
I think design is a different ball game in terms of that, in a sense, and a concept. And it's I feel like most designers said this to like Tinker Hatfield. Like he's like, you're designing for somebody else and you're creating a conversation that's outside of what you're interested in, or you are interested in, but outside of what you intend it to be. And so I think that itself is something that I want to explore. And I mean, solving somebody else's problem, yeah, for sure. But I would say the nature of it or the goal or the purpose of the two are pretty different to me, and I have to switch that and take myself out of the myself and my ego out of my design a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great point because we definitely play that game of like realizing it is a different perspective and like you're bringing maybe it's not something that you are super fond of like in terms of it graphically, but it does suit the client or it suits the need. So yeah,
Yeah.
we resonate with that a lot. But when I first saw your work, so I live in Beacon Hill, and so I go to the station a lot, or I go to like a lot of local businesses, and
Oh,
I see your work in a lot of places, and I'm like, well, like this is the same thing that I saw in like a different cafe or like a different space, and it's a lot of like musicians, portraits, and I don't know if that was something that really kind of launched or like elevated your platform, but I think that's when I first got to know you, and I was wondering like what led you to go down, like creating a lot of portraits of musicians and these different artists.
That's just funny because I'm like, oh, I'm like leaving breadcrumbs for you to.
Yeah. I'm like following you. I'm like, where is she?
It worked. I planned this out 5 years ago. I'm just kidding. I think I would say music is a huge inspiration to me in terms of I feel like it does this to everybody where it helps you through your hard time, it helps you through your like happiest time, your lows and highs. But I would say that hip hop specifically as a genre has influenced me a lot as a person growing up, and I think having like influences in my family. My uncle's pretty creative, and he used to have like print shops and stuff, and I heard about Macklemore way before like he won the Grammys, and like kind of knowing like local artists and just creatives, and seeing the way he worked within the community really inspired me, and it made me really curious as a young child or like a teenager. And so that I feel like hip hop was all I listened to. And of course, we had this introduction about Tupac and Biggie and like all these things. So I kind of knew about their stories when I was young and watching their documentaries. So it's really crazy that everything came full circle, and I like did that Biggie mural, and I'm like, whoa, is this real? Um, but I would say it's been a I don't even know, it's been so long that I don't know where I trace where it came from or how it started, I would say. But it's definitely the music genre that I'm mainly like into, and that's pretty much what I play when I study, what I play when I like shower, what I play when I like getting ready to go out or
Right.
painting. So I don't know how else to explain it. I think it became part of me and it is in my blood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, that's crazy. I think one thing that Julie and I have talked about in the past is sort of like when we listen to music or we listen to, it could be hip hop or whatever it might be, but sort of like what is the first thing we hear when we listen to a song? And I'm curious, like is it for you like the beat, the melody, the lyrics? Like what kind of comes out to you first when you're feeling a song, I guess?
I would have to say the beat, yeah, the melody, because it also kind of inform you like how like diverse or like multimedia this person is, like depending on like what kind of sounding it could be, from different
Mhm.
country, it can be from like different regions. So
Yeah.
I would say like it can inform you a lot about like this person's like specific taste and originality, where they came from or what influences them. And that is the reason why I think I love ASAP Rocky, because he is such a like well-rounded individual, like super different on every platform, kind of had touched everything, and I feel like that's what I aspire to be as an artist as well. Um, and you can see like little peaks of it or here and there, but not fully. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I love about music. Like when you hear it, and so like, you know how when they it's not recycle, but like when they use a beat from like an old
Oh, when
song,
they sample.
right? Yeah, so like it's like you get a peek of that, and you're like, okay, he's into that, and then he continuously making work that kind of create that theme of painting
Right.
all these old songs or the beats. So, and
Mhm.
I feel like super G when I'm like, okay, I recognize that beat from 1990. So
Yeah.
that's like, it's one
Yeah.
of the things I take pride in, where like, okay, I think I know enough to recognize where this came from, and I think it's the
Right.
cool part of music.
Mhm. No,
Yeah.
yeah, that's so special. Like seeing that, Clarence and I always say this, but with design, we always say that it's a remix, because we're always being inspired, and I think that goes the same with art and music as well. Like people literally sampling from other amazing people and like bouncing off of each other. And yeah, when you talked about how you kind of grew up in a space where music was really a big thing and you had early exposure to these artists, like it really did come full circle. And I feel like, yeah, everyone's childhood kind of manifests into who they are now and their art and their work. And I'm curious as to, you said with design, it's more user based, and then art is a lot more expressive or has the ability to allow you to express and have more like self reflection. But I'm curious as to how like your mental health or well-being plays into your ability to like create or make art. Like, is there lots of parallels with that, or like how do you usually approach that? Yeah.
I would say that I've been really blessed with being able to do both. Like if I'm stuck in design, I would literally run to my painting room and start painting for hours
Yeah.
and then come back. You know, it's such a nice escape to have. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like a lot of people might not have that. They would find different outlet, but for me it's painting, and I would say that I've gotten to the point where painting become very like comfortable for me in terms of like when I mean I do have my struggle still with like solving colors and composition,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a really nice like refresher, and I feel like home every time I come back to it. Doesn't matter how long I've been away. So I think it's just opening different doors and see what works. And for me, I think design is so interesting. I love it a lot. I have great teachers, and I think I'm really excited about like what I'm gonna explore next in design and hopefully connected to fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. Like the relationship is odd. I feel like I'm cheating on one another. Like, hey, I'm going
Yeah.
there. No, I'm going back. So I feel like it's two sides of me that it's an identity that I'm trying to build as a designer, and then I have this back identity that I'm a fine arts. I'm an artist.
Right.
I paint. Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier like fashion, and we talked a little bit about, we really enjoy seeing your outfits and stuff like that on
Mhm.
social media. But what has that kind of intersection been like for you, like streetwear and, your art or design even? Because I know that like, you know, I'm sure you enjoy sneakers and you enjoy like a lot of other brands and stuff like that, as I do too. So
Yeah. Man, I enjoy sneakers way too much. Let's just say it is overboard, overwhelming, all
yeah,
of that.
yeah,
Oh man, I feel like my love for fashion has been around since I was 3, 4. Um, so I grew up in Vietnam, so my mom used to have this like little boutique, and I know since I was 5, my mom kind of let me become in this like creative director of the front, what it looks like, who's being displayed, what kind of outfit mix match. So I didn't think that would serve into like my adulthood, but you were right about like manifesting what you had in your childhood into your adulthood. It
Mm-hmm.
all came back, and I've always had this like I don't know, interest in fashion, and in a third world country, like who cares about what people wear, but at the end of the day I do care, and I do like look at magazine and then cut out, and I used to make doll clothes, and it
Yeah.
was so fascinating to my parents. And I remember telling them at 5 that like, hey, I want to be a fashion designer. I don't know what this is like, because it looks like nobody out here cares, but I love fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And not until like I moved here, and then having my uncle's influence, because he has like a clothing shop, and he is such a fashion dude too, and so seeing him wear all these things, and I got put onto sneakers. So I've been collecting since like middle school, and I remember I used to be in lines at like when you used to still get able to get shoes at Foot Locker or like Finish Line. So I used to be in line with boys trying to get boy size shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole conversion between women and men, since we didn't
yeah,
have that back in the day. And I understand like how much of like an unfair and like just shifted or shitty that is, like just not having size for me. And so I had to like, okay, I'm wearing boy size, so what size am I in boys?
Mm-hmm.
And luckily, my feet has not changed since I was middle school. So my shoes has been with me since then. And I
Same.
just remember every drop and like, all the shoes that I've gotten and the occasions that I've gotten them and who got them for me. So it's been a long journey, I would say. And my love for sneakers remains the same. I hate the term sneakerhead, but I think I am a sneakerhead.
unfortunately.
Unfortunately, that is a nameplate I have to put on
Yeah,
myself.
I feel like with the whole men and women's shoe conversion, I think I'm like a size 3.5 in men's, and they don't really carry that in store.
They don't. Yeah, the releases sometimes they're like, okay, it's gonna be exclusive for men. It's gonna start from 6, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna wear 10 socks, I guess. But you know what I'm saying? It's just like, hot.
No, seriously, because I've been trying to like enter the likelihood raffles, and the minimum is always like 6, and I'm like, okay, I'll just have to buy it for my brother or something. But
Yeah,
mhm.
for
You
sure.
remember the first like maybe shoes you camped out for or like really stood in line for?
Funny thing is, I've had my uncles done that for me, but I would
Oh
say,
man.
I mean, I was too young. It was my like past my curfew and like
Yeah,
stay
yeah.
up.
I know literally like overnight you're like, why would I?
Exactly. And I wasn't like thinking how intense it was as a culture. Like, oh, well,
Mm,
okay, people are just doing it because they want to do it, but
Yeah.
no, they had to do it because they wanted the shoes. I would say the um Jordan 11s were the ones. The cement.
mm.
I think they were. Not the cement. Sorry, that's the three. That's my favorite shoes. But the 11s, the Concords 11. It
Oh
was
yeah, yeah, yeah.
one of my first. Like, literally had to go out of my way to try to get it. Um, and it was just crazy. And I ended up with like 2 pairs. Um, and that's a true sneakerhead definition. You like end up with 2 pairs of the same thing.
Yeah,
Not one. You
one
keep
to
one.
rock. Yeah.
Exactly. Or you display one. I displayed it for a while and then I
Mm.
rocked one and then ended up selling one of them.
Mhm.
Yeah. Wait, you mentioned the black cement threes, right? That's your
Yeah.
favorite. Yeah, I remember that's the first pair of shoes that I waited in line for. And
Oh,
I remember like ask my buddy and I, we his dad drove us to the store at like, like 4 in the morning. We're just like standing in line
uh,
waiting for the store to open. But yeah, that's crazy.
Wait, how old are you?
I must have been in high school or maybe or I
that
forget
sounds
what year it
perfect.
was. It
Yeah.
was yeah. It was quite a long time ago though.
Yeah, I got my black cement when I was in I think in junior year of high school. So it's like 2000. Okay, I'm gonna review how old I am. But 2012.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I think it's around then, 11 to 12.
I
Yeah, I
think
remember getting the black and the white.
yeah, that probably was when I between like eighth grade and like freshman year of high school. So that was the
Mm-hmm.
yeah, man, long time ago.
Ancient time. What are you talking
I
about?
know, it's whatever. It's whatever. Not gonna age myself either.
Yeah, and I mean it's funny to see like pictures of those like old shoes like falling apart or the sole like come off. I'm like, okay,
I
there's gonna be
know.
a day that's gonna mark how old I am when that shit fall down. I'm like,
I know. Oh
there it
my
is, the end of my sneaker career.
I know, like I like stare at the little bubble in the shoe and it's like so cloudy and I'm like, oh my god, it's gonna happen one day.
Oh man, yeah. I remember I don't know if you watch Abstract on Netflix, but
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
one of a really good design show and Tinker Hatfields were talking about that,
Mhm.
where when he first introduced the idea of an air bubble within a shoe sole, people were so opposed to it because they're like, "What the heck?" Like
Yeah.
this like look like it's about to pop when you like jump up and down.
Yeah.
And there you go, an example of like design and getting like
Mhm.
criticism and how to deal with it and believe in your idea and move forward.
Right.
Super dope.
Yeah, design is so subjective. Like then and there, they're like, "What the hell?" And now it's like such an iconic and super normal thing that everyone is just like they love it. So,
Yeah, but
mhm.
I feel like it's a funny thing because I feel like if you do something and it's the most love or the most hate, that's when it's pretty successful, right? When
Right.
it's the most
Yeah.
hate, people see it so much and somehow I think it turned around for them. Like there's some shoes releases where I'm like, okay, that is ugly. Like I would never see myself rocking that. But then when you see everyone start wearing them and you're like, oh, okay. I
You're like,
think
well,
you know what I'm saying? I'm like, well, I gotta see myself there, so I'm gonna give it a
Yeah.
try.
I
So
know it's so hard to
Mhm.
like something nowadays, but then like if everyone else hates it, you're like, do I? Or the other way around where everyone likes it, but then you're like, do I even like it, or is it because other people like it?
Mhm.
Like it's
right, right.
such a weird battle.
It is such a weird battle.
I'm curious if is there a shoe that's like hella hyped that you personally hate, or the other way around that you
Yeah.
love the shoe and then everyone else hates it.
The moment you said those shoes that are hella hype that I hate, I would say Yeezy. I mean, I'm sorry. And anybody,
Say that.
it could be that I don't. It could be that people like certain people who rock them that have a different like I don't know look and when I
Yeah.
think of Yeezy, I can automatically think what this guy's outfit would be like. So
Mhm.
I'm just kind of like okay, maybe that's stereotypical, but
Yeah.
I would say yeah, and I wouldn't. I don't know if there's a shoes I like that everybody hates. That's very extreme, but I don't think so.
Mhm.
I don't
No,
think so.
yeah, I think at UW at least, there's so many hype beasts that wear Yeezys and then they don't know how to style them. Like I swear they're wearing like one time I saw this guy wear like skinny jeans with like the ribbing on it, like that one type of jean that gets hate on, and like the UW like purple hoodie, and it was just like that's such a UW outfit.
That is a fit. I think that's a universal fit for almost every Yeezy. I don't know. Either you're like really ripped skinny jeans and a t-shirt that say Supreme, Gucci,
Yeah.
Babe. I don't know, and
Right. Yeah, because I definitely, yeah, it's been a while since
so
we've been
bad it's like shit talk.
no, it has to be said, honestly, because there's a lot of folks that at UW and probably at other places that are like, they wear things to flex rather than like really have a connection to your fashion or, sometimes it feels like a numbers game. Like I saw this YouTube video, um, of a guy going down like a shoe line and they were like how much is your fit, and some of them would be like $10,000 and I'm like damn. You did that for what?
You don't buy the drip. You just gotta have it. I think it's one of those things.
Yeah, what's that one, it's like style is forever where trend something versus like style versus trends or something like that, because you can have the trends but
Wait, you
have
mean
the
like
style.
juice and drip?
Yeah. Or what is that sauce versus
Oh, yeah. No, it was sauce versus drip, right?
sauce is forever.
No, wait.
And then what is the temporary one? Juice expires, but sauce is forever.
Oh,
Yeah.
I forget what it was exactly. I don't know if that's right. We have to look into that.
Yeah, we gotta look.
We need a fact check real quick, but
Mhm.
yeah, this is gonna be your next tagline. Yeah, that's true though. I feel like I don't even think let's just not put the price tag on like what you wear because I feel like
Yeah.
there's pieces I like that nobody knows about or you thrift it and it's super low key, but it's everyone's gonna be like, oh my god, where did you get that?
Right.
And I think like it's important to understand like where the fashion came from or what inspires it, like who did it first. So
Mhm.
it's super I think it's super interesting to know like the background of these shoes and like the archives and where it derived from and who's the designer and what the designer do and what the nature of like he or she does and the style.
Right. For
So
sure.
I think it's definitely interesting and like I would say like Nike collaboration has taught me a lot about like knowing a lot of up and coming emerging designers that
Mhm.
I didn't know about and learning about their work. And it's important so that when someone asks like, "Oh, I would be able to name the shoes and like, okay, it was made in that year and it's designed by this person,
Mhm.
you know." So I think that's the cool thing about it. And it's almost like same thing for me when I paint. Like I have to paint artists I know. Like I can't be that one person that wear a band shirt and don't listen to the band.
Yes.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
Mhm.
embarrassing.
That's a nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah. We have this one friend that's like, because I think that TikTok or I don't know made like band tees popular again, and like Harley Davidson or like the Smiths or like shit like that. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that is a trend, and I think that's something that people it's like an aesthetic more than now a meaningful art thing. I do remember this one time I had a trip to this grocery store and this guy at checked out. I mean maybe because I look really young and just like the small little Asian girl wearing a Tupac t-shirt, right? So I was checking out. He was like, "Dan, did you even listen to the guy? Like, do you know who this person is?" And he was like pointing at my shirt. And
Damn.
I think it was either Tupac or Biggie. You know, I think no, it was Biggie. I think it was Biggie.
Mhm.
And then my dad looked at him, and I looked at him, and I'm like, "Yeah, I painted a whole mural of him.
Yeah, the fuck.
Like, I do know what he's about."
Yeah.
And I didn't say that, but I just looked at him and I'm like, yeah, I do listen to him. I know he's before my time, but I do know. And then I kind of like start singing a song about him or from him.
Yeah.
And on my way out, so I'm like,
You just
yep,
wrap the whole verse.
exactly. I'm like, goodbye. Yeah, so
I'm
that's
dead.
that's beautiful.
Mhm.
But it looks like we're just about time. I feel like the last like 45, 50 minutes just flew by. But
yeah,
it was
super
such a
fun.
pleasure to have you.
Yeah, that was super fun. I loved it.
Yeah. So before we wrap up, as always, we do a song of the week. And not to put the pressure on you, but we'd love to hear what song you have on repeat or what's been, getting you through the days or what's kind of representing your mood, whatever it might be, just a song of the week, song of the day.
I would say the song that I've been jamming, not because it's Women's History Month, but I've been listening to a lot of women's artists.
Mhm.
Probably gonna be for the rest of the month.
Yeah.
But Solange is someone that I'm painting right now, and I've been jamming
Mhm.
her a lot because I really need to get to that zone.
Right.
So a song from her, I would have to say Stay Flow is one of the songs I'm
Mhm.
listening to right now, or Bins is a good song. So,
Mhm.
and if you guys ever seen her perform live, oh, she's amazing. I think
Yeah.
I've seen her perform Stay Flow before in real life,
Oh my
but
God.
Wow.
I'm
it's so
jealous.
cool.
Sounds
Performance wise,
magical.
it's on point, and the song is beautiful. So I would say that would be my song of the week because it's
Yeah,
my
her
of the week.
like art direction is super cool too. Like it's
Mhm.
so interpretive, and I saw that she's streaming on her website. She has the her Jimmy Fallon
Uh-huh.
um
Uh-huh.
on
Yeah.
streaming like on loop, and I just like watched it again recently, and it's so good.
Yeah, yeah. I remember I was in the crowd. I think this was a Camp Flog Gnaw, and this kid was like watching her perform, and he was like, "Nah, man, she's not Beyonce." Oh my God, I wanted to jump
Yeah.
across that crowd and punch my
Right.
face. Like I was like, "Okay, don't start this right now."
Yeah.
But no, I didn't. But I totally disagree with that, and
Right.
I think every artist should have their moment. Like I don't like it when, like, for example, people say like Nipsey Hussle is the Tupac of this generation. No, he's Nipsey Hussle of this generation. So
Right.
I think
Right.
people
Mhm.
deserve their own identity and name, and for
Mhm.
their own timeline.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I hate it when I hear things like that.
Mhm.
yeah, that's absolutely that's so true.
Mhm.
We will not accept any Solange slander here.
Not in this house.
Yeah,
The next podcast, if that happened, cut.
yeah, yeah. We're
We're
like
done
cutting the
here. If we're
episode.
15 minutes in, we're done.
We're so excited to see your mural though. That's really exciting to hear that that's your next project. So can't wait to
Yeah.
see that. Yeah. Clarence, do you want to go first or should I?
Well, I think I can speak for the both of us, Jubilee,
Yeah.
because we both have been streaming the Bruno Mars Anderson .Paak song,
Hmm.
since it came out, and the video itself. So Leave the Door Open. It's a single from their upcoming album. It's so good. I had an event last night with Jordan Nicholson, who I think you're friends with, Hua. But during the intermission and like during we had a little portion where we did an activity, but I just played that song again and again and again and again. So
Oh,
it was
good.
a mood. It's definitely a vibe, and yeah, it's you got to listen to it.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Definitely like watch the music video because you just feel so many things. Like they're all color coordinated. It's all like warm tones and they're all like dancing in unison.
Oh,
I
that's
love it.
cool.
Yeah.
I gotta give it a listen. I feel like yeah, that's cool about like having friends or creative community. That's where you exchange music, share your music.
Right.
That's definitely cool. I'll listen to it because I mean I painted Anderson .Paak, but I've never painted Bruno Mars. I
Yeah.
would expect it. I probably didn't know about it probably because
No,
I
I actually, yeah, I had to like look it up and check if they had released it. So definitely
Mhm.
check it out. But again, thank you so much for just your time this morning. We learned so much about you and your story, and also about sneakers. Like I love that. Um, but yeah, for all of our listeners, we will have all of Hua's information down below. Check out the Instagram and the website and everything. So thank you for tuning in, and we will see you all next week.
Peace.
Peace.